Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. We are actually ready to talk a little bit about controlling respiratory rate. And when we're talking about controlling respiratory rate, we are talking about the number of breaths per minute. And remember, when we're talking about breaths, we are really just talking about the pulmonary ventilation. So if you remember, this is just one piece of the external respiration. And we see that the average adult respiratory rate is between 12 and 18 breaths per minute. So I'm using a BPM to represent breaths per minute instead of beats per minute here. And we do have 3 levels of control. So we're going to talk about the first level as the most basic, and then we'll talk about the third level as the higher center. So level 1 is being controlled by level 2, level 2 is being controlled by level 3, and so forth. So when we talk about our controlling respiratory rate and we talk about the control of pulmonary ventilation, what we're talking about is the control of those skeletal muscles. Yeah. So we're talking about synapsing onto the diaphragm, external intercostals, and then those other muscles that are involved in your forced breathing or your accessory inspiratory and accessory expiratory muscles. When we talk about level 1, this is located at the medulla oblongata. This is the lowest portion of your brainstem. This is the most primitive part of your brain. This is the part of your brain that's responsible to keep you alive. Keep you alive. And so this is going to be basic rhythm. Let's be honest here. This is beautiful. Because if we had to consciously think about take a breath, we'd get distracted really quick. So we would not be long for this world, right? When we talk about these respiratory centers, we have groups of neurons that are located at the front and the back of the medulla oblongata. So we have what's called the ventral respiratory group. Ventral's front, and we'll abbreviate this one as VRG. And then we have the back group, dorsal respiratory group. And so we're going to abbreviate that one as DRG. So the names here are telling us just like where they're located in the medulla oblongata. Okay, so that's where those names come from. The dorsal respiratory group, the DRG, is going to stimulate your primary inspiratory muscles. Hey, y'all, that's your diaphragm and your external intercostal. This is your inhale. So this is giving us a constant breathing rhythm. This is keeping you breathing. And when you stop stimulation, remember that's giving you your exhale. So when you stop stimulation, that's just giving you your exhale, because remember, your exhale and your quiet breathing is just passive. Now, sometimes we need to move more air. So if we're exercising, we might need to move more air. So the VRG can stimulate those accessory, I'm going to say breathing muscles. So that's your forced breathing or your hyperpnea. So when you need it, you can turn on those muscles. Okay. The second level, I should say, is located at the pons. The pons, remember, is one up on the brainstem. So you're still on the brainstem. Brainstem is still about like keeping you alive. We're still in unconscious processing. So anything brainstem is unconscious processing. We can talk about these then as the pontine respiratory group, as in Pons. So that just occurred to me in this moment. And we have here in the second level what's called the apneustic group. And then we have what's called the pneumotaxic group. We have the apneustic group and the pneumotaxic group. Now the apneustic group is going to stimulate the DRG. Apneustic group is going to stimulate the DRG. So now we're controlling the depth of our breath. The apneustic, I'm going to grab a red color to show an inhibition. Excuse me, the pneumotaxic, I don't know what I said, but the pneumotaxic is going to inhibit the DRG. Which then would be our exhale. So this is pneumotaxic is allowing for relaxation. So this is controlling the rate, overall rate. So we're seeing the apneustic controlling the depth. Pneumotaxic, by inhibiting the DRG, is controlling the overall rate. Okay. Then we have level 3. Level 3 is your higher center. Higher center is conscious level processing. We're going to get here the limbic center. We're going to get the hypothalamus. And we're going to have the cerebrum. We're going to have conscious level processing. So even just in our practice a few videos ago, I said, take an inhale, hold it, take more inhale. We had a very conscious control of what we were doing in that case. So again, we can consciously control our breath, but we can also just unconsciously let it ride, let it be taken care of by the brainstem. So level 3 is going to control, control the pneumotaxic. So you can override the pneumotaxic. And we can see it kicking in response to temperature. So we'll see a direct relationship where you increase temperature, you're going to increase your respiratory rate. So that's part of what we're getting with our exercise. We can take over this control based on our emotions. That's where we're getting that limbic system based on pain, which is also being processed, fear in the limbic system, all of that. And then we can just have just conscious control like we did in our practice. Okay. All right. We have one more piece of control to talk about, so let's go ahead and do that. We have chemoreceptors that are going to be involved, and what we see is that you have 2 types. So we have what's called the central chemoreceptor, and this is going to be located where we would expect, where we just were, brainstem and the brain. So that's, triggering what was going on with those levels of control that we just were looking at. And then we also have peripheral chemoreceptors, and these are going to be located in the carotid artery and also in the aorta. Now, these chemoreceptors, both cases are responding to changes in carbon dioxide gas, hydrogen ion, and oxygen gas. And we started our conversation saying that carbon dioxide gas is the biggest push for you to breathe. And so what we'll see is if you have elevated carbon dioxide gas levels, or if you have a lot of hydrogen ion levels, these are going to be connected to each other. We'll pick up on that connection in the future. Remember what we're looking at with a high hydrogen ion, we're looking at a low pH, something that's acidic. This is going to trigger an increase in the rate and depth of your breath or your breathing. And we'll see also if you have a decrease in your oxygen levels, and we'll see that more from the peripheral receptor. So we'll kind of connect it over here. If you have a decrease in your oxygen levels, then that's also going to trigger an increase in your respiratory rate or activity. Now, in order for the oxygen levels to trigger all this, those oxygen levels have to be extremely low. So typically we see it's the buildup of the CO2 or the hydrogen ion that's going to really be triggering the breathing. We don't often get to that super low oxygen level. When we talk about both of these cases increasing respiratory activity, we are in each case talking about the apneustic center. So the apneustic, remember, was controlling the depth of the inspiration. And so we'll see that being stimulated here. All right. Up next, we are ready to do the second piece of external respiration, which was alveolar ventilation. So stay tuned. As always, take care of yourselves and each other.